But I think one thing is just coming to my mind.
ज़्यादा बेहतर वो लोग होते हैं जो अल्लाह के दीदार में होते हैं, जिनको अल्लाह देखता है, वो अल्लाह को देखते हैं, अल्लाह उनको देखता है, वो ज़्यादा बेहतर होते हैं.
We're just going to ask this question that Shah Sahib answered. Shah Sahib was saying that the best people are those that are loved by God, who see God and God sees those people. That's the difference between having God inside them and having the light inside them.
जब वो दुनिया में बैठे होते हैं ना, अगर अल्लाह उनको देख लेना, तो एक दफ़ा वो देखता है ना, तो 7 बड़े गुनाह जो है ना, वो जल जाते हैं.
The example they give of that person is that person who sees God, and that person that God sees, he may be sitting in this world, and then those people that sit in his company, at that moment in time, God may then just decide to look at that person. And thus, that by one look of God, one glance, each and every person who may have committed 7 major sins, by just with that one glance, all those people sitting in the company of that person, the spiritual guide, 7 major sins are burnt away.
दिन में पता नहीं कितनी बार देखिए उसको.
Just God, and nobody knows that how many times God may look at that person.
यही वजह है उन लोगों के पास लोग बैठे रहते हैं ना, उनके गुनाह जलते रहते हैं.
So this is the reason that those people that have God inside them, and those people that God looks at many times during the day, others who sit in their company, they find such peace and satisfaction, and their misdeeds and all the badness and darkness and evil that is created inside slowly and steadily and surely passes away and fades away.
तब मौलाना रूमी का गाना वली की एक लम्हा की सोबत 100 साल की बात से देखा.
This is why Maulana Rumi said that sitting in the company of a friend of God, one moment is better than 100 years of worship.
हो सकता है कि 100 साल की बात से उसका गुनाह ना माफ हो और उसके बैठने से गुनाह जल जाए.
Because it may be the case that by doing 100 years of worship, you may not get rid of that one sin that you committed. But by sitting in the company of such a man, in one moment, that you could get rid of that sin.
दीदार वालों के बाद बगैर और लोगों में भी नूर होता है, लेकिन वो नूर से वो होता है जब आदमी बैठता है ना, उसकी रग़बत नूर की तरफ हो जाती है.
There are other people that don't see God, and they just contain a little bit of light inside them. But by sitting in the company of those people who only have light, you are then drawn towards the light, meaning away from God, but just the light itself.
जिनमें ये होता है ना नूर, उनको मोमन बोलता है, जिसको अल्लाह देखता है उसको वली बोलता है.
Those people that only possess the light inside them, or a little bit of light, they are known as mu'min, meaning true believers. But those that have God inside them, or that look at God, that God looks at, they are called saints. There's a big difference between true believers and saints. You can only fully prosper and fully achieve God and progress by the saints, but not by true believers. But that you could be a true believer, I could be a true believer. There's a big difference between a true believer and the saint.
Are there some who are hidden saints?
कुछ मुर्शिद ऐसे हैं जो छुपे हुए हैं. Yes.
बहुत से मुर्शिद हैं जो उसको देख ही रहे हैं. तो घर वालों ने समझा कि मर ही गया, तो कब्र में दफना के आ गए, वो कब्र में उसको देख.
There are some spiritual guides who continuously look at God, and the relatives and people at home, they just think that that person has died, so they just bury them. Even after they buried them, they're still looking at God.
Shahi, can you direct a guide to us? How do I phrase that? Can you see if the spiritual guide that's working with a person is the right guide for them? Or
जैसे पूछें कि अगर फर्ज करें एक आदमी है, उसके साथ कोई रूहानी पेशवा लगे हुए हैं, तो उसको गाइड कर रहे हैं, तो आप क्या ये देख सकते हैं कि वो सही उसको गाइडेंस मिल रही है, गलत मिल रही है, यानी पहले से ही किसी कोई फॉलो कर रहा है किसी. Yes, I can tell whether the person, if a guide is attached to that person, whether that person is being rightly guided or wrongly guided.
बहुत लोग ऐसे होते हैं जिनके साथ शैतानी चीज़ें लग गई. वो कोई एक चीज़ साथ शैतानी लगी ना, तो बाकी शैतानों से उनको महफूज रखती है.
sometimes we see that there may be one person and there are a couple of creatures, sort of spiritual creatures, but from representing evil with that person. And sometimes we
नहीं
see.
पूरा समझना जिस तरह ये औरत है इसके साथ एक शैतानी मर्द लग गया
जी सर.
वो सिर्फ अपने लिए बाकी शैतानों से दूसरी चीज़ों से महफूज करता है इसको
अपने मकसद के लिए
दूसरों से महफूज करता है
खुद गर्जी.
अच्छा समझ गया.
यानी खुद गर्जी इससे वो मोहब्बत करता है.
जिसका Shah give the example of, for example, that you have a spiritual guide or say a person, an evil person, in a similar way, an evil creature attached to one person, and then that one evil person or evil spiritual guide or even a spiritual creature will sort of keep you to himself for his own purpose to prevent other evil from exploiting you or giving you harm, because the maximum harm is achieved by himself. He uses that person.
फिर वो आदमी सोचेगा कि मुझसे ये जो दूसरों से बचाता है ये मेरे साथ कोई रूहानी चीज़ है.
And because only one person or one thing is attached to that person, and no harm is coming to that person from any other avenue, you then regard that person being your spiritual guide. But that person may not necessarily be spiritual or good, may be evil. But because you think, oh, I'm not getting harm from any other place, so this person may necessarily be good for me.
दूसरे लोग होते हैं जिनके साथ रूहानी चीज़ होती है वो भी उसको शैतानों से बचाती है.
In a similar way, there are other people who have spiritual guides or spiritual assistance, but from a good point of view, and they prevent evil from harming you.
अब दोनों जब बचाती हैं तो पता क्या चलेगा सही कौन है गलत कौन है.
So we find that evil and goodness is protecting you in a similar way. So how do you find out which is good and which is evil?
अगर वो शैतानी चीज़ होगी ना तो इसके ख्यालात वगैरह सब शैतानी दुनिया की तरफ ध्यान हो जाएगा ना. अगर रूहानी होगी ना तो इसका ध्यान अलग तरफ से जाएगा.
The way to find that out is that if that person who is your guide or is with you or protecting you, if all your mind and your intention is towards the world and its contents, then that's from Satan. But if everything is towards God, all your efforts and all your intentions, then that is spiritual, is from good. It's from God.
Do we have like many good spiritual guides that work with us, or when we come in contact with maybe a spiritual guide that has achieved a higher state of consciousness, do the other guides leave and allow just this one guide to work with us, or do they all work together with us?
मैं पूछने का अगर फर्स्ट करें एक आदमी के साथ 2-3 मुर्शिद हैं जो रूहानी टीचर हैं और एक फिर ऐसा गाइड आ जाता है जो उन सब से हैवी है, उसने वो मुकाम पाया जो सब ने नहीं पाया, फिर वो दूसरे छोड़ जाते हैं कि वो सब इकट्ठे काम करते हैं.
नहीं तो दूसरों को जरूरत नहीं, जो हैवी है वही सारे काम करता है ना.
Then there's no need for the others. The one that has achieved the highest state, that will remain. He will remain and guide that person.
सब 5वीं 6वीं पढ़ता है, सारे मुर्शिद होते हैं. जब मैट्रिक में जाकर मैट्रिक वाला इलादा होता है ना, बाकी भी तो उसके उस्ताद ही हैं.
It's just that when you start in primary school or secondary school, you're being taught in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th class. And when you get to the 10th, 11th, 12th class, they've been all your teachers, but then you've got a different teacher for a higher class.
I have a little trouble with the good and evil because that suggests duality to me.
Right.
I would like to know more about the path of non-duality.
From which point of view?
From the point of view of separation, good and evil as being separate.
Yeah. You want to know whether it exists or whether it shouldn't exist, why it exists?
Whether it does exist at all.
Good and evil?
Yes.
Or whether it's a figment of the imagination?
Since it is a